Are you wondering whether or not it's a good idea to buy a home before getting married? Well, stay tuned. We're going to chat about that. Before we get started, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button and the like button as well. And maybe even make a comment. I'd love to have a conversation with you guys about this because it's an important topic. Okay, so you did that, right? Thank you very much. I'm Kelly Corsino, and I've been a licensed realtor since 2005. And one of the things that I've noticed throughout my career of being an entrepreneur with many different successful businesses is that people make choices about where they spend their money, and it can really put their life on a particular path financially. One of the places this was most apparent to me was as an event producer. As an event producer and event performer, I sang at and produced a lot of weddings. And in Southern California, a lot of lush weddings at places like the Ritz-Carlton and Le Méridien in Newport Beach. Venues that were very expensive. And one of the things that I noticed in getting to know the couples that I was working for and with was that oftentimes they didn't own their own home. So here they were having this big, lavish wedding, but they didn't have a home to go to when they got home from their honeymoon. And that just doesn't make sense. So some of the people that I have followed over the years, like Dave Ramsey, who's an amazing financial advisor, and even I had the good fortune recently to meet and work with Kevin O'Leary, yes, Mr. Wonderful himself from Shark Tank. And he had some great words of wisdom, and I actually managed to get a copy of his book while I was there, and he was such a gracious guy. And in this book, he talks about how when he got married, he was really broke, and his wife, who is still his wife, and he credits her with loving him even when he didn't have a penny to his name, when they got married, they went on the cheap. They did a really inexpensive wedding, and because they knew that what was more important to them than spending a bunch of money on a wedding was to get married. And that's the whole point. So if you are in a position where you're in love with someone and you are cohabitating in a rental and you're thinking about getting married, I'd like to invite you to consider that you may want to go on the cheap, do something small, intimate, a backyard wedding. And this is coming from someone who has a long history in event production. You know, the conventional wisdom is that it all really does begin with home ownership. It's possible you might start your wealth story somewhere else, but for most people, it really does start with home ownership. So let's say you have something come up in your future where you have a great opportunity to start a new business, something you've always wanted to do, and you just need a little seed capital. Well, you can borrow against your home. Or let's say something not so great happens and you have an emergency happen in your family and you need some money right away. Well, you can also borrow against your home for that. So having a house can be really beneficial for building your wealth. Take the scenario where you find a great rental property in your area and you need a down payment. Well, you can borrow against your house for that as well. So ultimately, owning your own home is the beginning of building your wealth. So the sooner that you can start doing that, the better. So if you're looking at this as a possibility and you're not yet married, I'd like to invite you to consider that maybe you just do that backyard wedding. Maybe you cater it yourself. Maybe you do a potluck. You know what? At the end of the day, it's about you standing at that altar and saying I do and going off into the sunset and loving each other. It's not about how much money you spend on that. And if you've got that money that you can recapture from family and friends or whenever you were going to spend on that event and put it as a down payment on a home, all the better. So I hope that's helpful, and I would be more than happy to chat with you about what this could look like for you in real world numbers. So like, what are you paying in rent right now? And what could be the equivalent of a mortgage payment? Because it's not going to be the same number because it's not apples to apples. The rent is strictly a flush. It is never going to help you build any wealth, whereas the mortgage payment will, absolutely. So feel free to reach out. My information is right down there in the description. Again, thank you for tuning in. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I'm always happy to answer questions. And let me know what other content you'd like me to be putting up here. This is your channel and I want it to serve you. Okay, until next time, bye.
That was awesome, dude!